The year was 1970, and the roads of England were about to become the hunting ground for a predator whose actions would send shockwaves through the nation. Two young women, separated by time and distance, would fall victim to a sinister force that lurked in the shadows of the bustling motorways. A bright and free-spirited 18-year-old secretary from Manchester had just spent a weekend in London, attending parties and collecting her belongings from her old home. With a bright future ahead and dreams yet to be realized, she set out on what should have been a routine journey back to Manchester. Little did she know that her decision to hitch a ride would lead her into the clutches of a dangerous individual.
Peter Sutcliffe is one of the most notorious serial killers of the 20th century. He's now serving life in Broadmoor Psychiatric Hospital for the murders of 13 women and the attempted murder of 7 others in the late 70s. The authors of this book believe there are many more Ripper victims whose cases are unsolved. Former police intelligence officer Chris Clark bases his theory on the methods that Sutcliffe used to kill. But 20 years on, Barbara's case was linked to the murder of 18-year-old Jacqi Ansell Lamb. She'd also hitchhiked from London to the north from the same place in the same year. Her body was found close to the M6 in Cheshire.
The N1 and M6 motorways play a central role in today's case. These long stretches of road, often surrounded by vast expanses of countryside, were designed to make travel faster and more efficient. However, in 1970, they became the backdrop for a series of sinister events that would leave an indelible mark on the nation's memory. One of the key locations in this case is the small town of Mere in Cheshire. Situated just off the M6 motorway, this quiet community was thrust into the spotlight when it became the scene of a gruesome discovery. The peaceful woodlands near Mere, usually a place for leisurely walks and nature appreciation, suddenly became associated with something far more sinister. Another significant location is Althopmel, a village in Derbyshire. Located close to the M1 motorway, this rural area, known for its picturesque landscapes, became the site of another shocking find. The contrast between the beauty of the surroundings and the darkness of the events that transpired there is stark and unsettling. The Opera Cafe at High Lead, just off Junction 20 of the M6 near Warrington, also plays a crucial role in our story. This transport cafe, a common sight along British motorways, was a place where travelers would stop for a quick meal or a cup of coffee. In the 1970s, these motorways and the surrounding areas were quite different from what we see today. The road network was less developed, and hitchhiking was a common practice. Many people, especially young adults, would think nothing of standing by the roadside with their thumb out, hoping for a kind motorist to give them a lift. This practice, while convenient, also left individuals vulnerable to potential dangers. Beginning with Jacqueline Susan Ansell Lamb, affectionately known as Jacqui to her friends and family. Born on September 21, 1951, Jacqui was just 18 years old when her life took a tragic turn. Jacqui was a vibrant young woman, described by those who knew her as very much a 60s teenager. She embraced the spirit of the era with its music, fashion, and sense of freedom. Working as a secretary in Manchester, Jacqui was at the start of her adult life, full of dreams and ambitions for the future. On that fateful weekend in March 1970, Jacqui had traveled to London to collect belongings from her old house and attend a party in Earl's Court. It was a typical weekend for a young person in the swinging 60s, socializing, enjoying music, and making new connections. Little did anyone know that this would be the last time Jacqui would enjoy such simple pleasures. Jacqui's parents must have been proud of their daughter. They had raised a confident, independent young woman who was making her way in the world. The sudden loss of their child would have been devastating, leaving a void that could never be filled. The last confirmed sighting of her was at a transport cafe near Warrington, where witnesses recall seeing her in the company of a smartly dressed man. From that moment on, her fate was sealed. Days later, in a wooded area just off the M6 motorway, a shocking discovery was made. The young woman's life had been cruelly cut short, leaving behind a grieving family and a community in shock. The circumstances of her passing were deeply troubling, with signs of a struggle and evidence that she had fought bravely against her assailant. But this was just the beginning. 7 months after the tragic events involving Jacqi, another young woman's life was cut short in eerily similar circumstances. Barbara Mayo, born on March 20, 1946, was 24 years old and working as a school teacher in London. Barbara, like Jacqi, was a young woman in the prime of her life. As a teacher, she was likely passionate about education and shaping young minds. She had a boyfriend, indicating a personal life filled with love and future plans. On that October day in 1970, Barbara set out on what should have been a routine journey to collect her boyfriend's car in Katerina, North Yorkshire. Dressed in a navy blue coat, lilac jersey, and gold and tan slacks, Barbara likely thought nothing of hitchhiking to her destination. It was a common practice at the time, and she probably had no inkling of the danger that awaited her. These two young women, Jacqi and Barbara, though they never met, are forever linked by the tragic circumstances of their passing. Their stories serve as a reminder of the vibrant lives that were lost and the importance of seeking justice, no matter how much time has passed. Following the discovery of Jacqi Ansell Lamb's body, Cheshire Police launched a massive operation. A team of 120 officers was assembled, each determined to uncover the truth behind this heinous act. They started by looking into Jacqi's recent past, investigating her connections in London and Manchester. The man Jacqi had met at the Earl's Court party was quickly ruled out as a suspect, as were her other male acquaintances. This left investigators with a puzzling question. Who was the smartly dressed, businesslike man last seen with Jacqi at the Opera Cafe? Interestingly, investigators noted that many Manchester City football fans had traveled along the M6 from London to Manchester on the weekend of Jacqi's passing. This led to a theory that her assailant could have been among these travelers. When Barbara Mayo's body was found 7 months later, the scale of the investigation grew even larger. Detective Chief Superintendent Chris Pollard from Scotland Yard took charge, leading what was described as Britain's biggest ever motorway hunt. The numbers involved in this investigation were staggering. 1,500 police officers questioned over 125,000 people on motorways and took nearly 50,000 statements. In an unprecedented move, police set up checkpoints across 150 miles of the N1 between London and Leeds. Picture this scene. For an entire day, every vehicle at every junction along this 150-mile stretch was stopped and checked. Officers were looking for any tiny piece of information that might help solve the case. The investigation team also launched a nationwide publicity campaign. Posters were plastered all over Britain, urging anyone with information to come forward. They made a special appeal to men who might have given lifts to female hitchhikers, assuring them that their wives wouldn't be informed if they came forward with information. A week after the motorway checkpoints, a television reconstruction of Barbara Mayo's last known movements was broadcast. This led to 700 members of the public coming forward with potential sightings. One significant lead came from a witness who was certain he had seen Barbara, or someone matching her description, getting into a white Morris Traveller near Kimberley, Nottinghamshire. This sighting was less than 20 miles from where she was found. The search for this Morris Traveller became a major focus of the investigation. At that time, there were 100,000 Morris Travellers on British roads. In a testament to the thoroughness of the investigation, each owner was traced and questioned. The records of 28,000 criminals were checked, and 76,000 leads were pursued. The sheer scale of this operation was unprecedented, making it the largest investigation ever mounted by one police force in Britain at that time. Despite these enormous efforts, the person responsible for these acts remained elusive. The investigation team faced a challenging task, piecing together fragments of information in hopes of uncovering the truth. As the investigations into Jacqi Ansell Lamb and Barbara Mayo's cases progressed, detectives began to notice striking similarities between the two incidents. This realization led to a significant development in the pursuit of justice. By 1990, 20 years after these tragic events, Cheshire Police and Derbyshire Police were increasingly convinced that the two cases might be connected. In January 1991, the lead investigators from both forces made a joint appeal on the popular TV show Crime Watch. While they couldn't say with absolute certainty that they were looking for the same person, they emphasized the striking similarities between the cases. This public appeal marked a turning point in the investigation. The two police forces decided to join forces, combining their resources and knowledge in an attempt to solve both cases. This collaboration brought fresh eyes and new perspectives to the investigations, rekindling hope for a breakthrough. During the Crime Watch appeal, the lead investigator on Jacqi's case shared an intriguing piece of evidence. Forensic scientists had found several pieces of carpet fiber on Jacqi's body. These fibers were believed to have come from a carpet roll or a carpet sample. Interestingly, on the weekend Jacqi lost her life, there had been a carpet exhibition at Earl's Court in London. This revelation led investigators to theorize that the person responsible might have had connections to the carpet industry. Remember, the man last seen with Jacqi at the Opera Cafe was described as looking like a rep or a salesman. Could this be the missing link? The joint appeal on Crime Watch had another significant impact. Several women came forward to report that they had been physically harmed in the same area where Barbara was last seen, either shortly before or after her passing. These reports added another layer to the investigation, suggesting a pattern of behavior that could potentially lead to the culprit. In 1997, there was a major breakthrough in Barbara's case. Using advanced scientific techniques, Derbyshire police managed to obtain a DNA profile from Barbara's clothing. This was a game changer. With this profile, police could now potentially identify the person responsible if they could find a match. The investigation team embarked on an ambitious plan to trace all 250 original suspects for DNA testing. By 2009, all but a handful had been located and ruled out. The DNA profile was also compared against 200,000 profiles on the National DNA Database and 9,000 samples from serving prisoners, but no match was found. While this DNA evidence was a significant step forward in Barbara's case, unfortunately, investigators were not able to obtain a similar profile from Jacqi's belongings at that time. This made it challenging to conclusively link the two cases through DNA evidence. Despite these challenges, investigators remained committed to solving these cases. In August 2001, detectives from Derbyshire Police made another televised appeal on a program titled Britain's 10 Most Wanted Murderers, keeping the cases in the public eye and hoping for new leads. With the passage of time, investigations into Jacqi and Barbara's cases continued to evolve. New theories emerged, and investigators explored various possibilities in their relentless pursuit of the truth. In the late 2000s, a new potential suspect came under scrutiny: Peter Tobin, a man who had been found guilty of ending the lives of 3 young women, including a girl he had picked up while she was hitchhiking in 1991, became a person of interest. Given the similarities in the cases, police naturally wanted to explore whether Tobin could have been involved in Jacqi and Barbara's cases. However, after thorough investigation, Tobin was ruled out as a suspect. Criminologist David Wilson, in his 2010 book about Tobin, stated that Tobin was unlikely to be responsible and could be excluded based on DNA evidence. This conclusion highlighted the importance of the DNA profile obtained from Barbara's case, as it allowed investigators to definitively rule out potential suspects. Around the same time, another lead emerged that briefly caught the attention of investigators. In 2009, crime writer Scott Lomax brought attention to an interesting coincidence in his book about unsolved cases. He noted that Manchester City Football Club had been playing in London at the time of Barbara's incident, just as they had been during Jacqi's. Lomax suggested that police had never investigated whether the person responsible could have been returning from the football match in London when they encountered Barbara on the N1, mirroring the circumstances of Jacqi's case. This theory highlighted the importance of considering all possible angles and connections, even years after the initial investigations. It also underscored the challenges faced by investigators in piecing together events from so long ago, with limited technology and resources compared to what's available today. In 2015, Another theory emerged when crime writers Chris Clark and Tim Tate published a book suggesting that Jacqi and Barbara's cases could be linked to Peter Sutcliffe, known as the Yorkshire Ripper. However, this theory was quickly dismissed as Sutcliffe had been ruled out through DNA testing back in 1997. More recently, in 2019, journalist Don Hale proposed a potential link between Barbara's case and the 1973 incident involving Wendy Sewell. Hale pointed out similarities in appearance between Barbara and Wendy and noted that the locations where they were found were relatively close. However, other writers have argued that there is little evidence to support this connection. These various theories and leads, while ultimately not leading to a resolution of the cases, demonstrate the ongoing public interest in Jacqi and Barbara's stories. They also highlight the complexity of cold cases and the challenges faced by investigators in separating credible leads from speculation. Throughout the years, law enforcement has continued to make regular appeals for information about Jacqi and Barbara's cases. The building where Jacqi was last seen, once the Opera Cafe, is now Lim Truck Stop, a silent reminder of that fateful night in 1970. As we the chapter on these cases, it's crucial to remember Jacqi and Barbara not just as victims, but as vibrant young women whose lives were cut tragically short. Jacqi, the vivacious 18-year-old secretary with a bright future ahead of her, and Barbara, the dedicated 24-year-old schoolteacher, both had dreams and aspirations that were never realized. Their stories serve as a powerful reminder of the value of human life and the importance of never giving up in the pursuit of truth and justice. While the person responsible for these acts has yet to be brought to account, the ongoing investigations and public interest ensure that Jacqi and Barbara's memories live on. As long as there are dedicated investigators willing to pursue every lead, and as long as there are people who remember and care about what happened to Jacqi and Barbara, hope remains. Perhaps one day, with advances in technology or a crucial piece of new information, these cases will finally be resolved, bringing closure to families and communities that have waited for so long. Until then, the story of Jacqi Ansell Lamb and Barbara Mayo continues to be a reminder of the impact of unsolved cases, the relentless pursuit of justice, and the enduring power of memory.